Let me ask you something, and be honest. You walk into a battle. You're outnumbered, outgunned, your men are starving. The enemy has 10 times your army. Do you fight? Most people run. Most generals surrender. One man didn't. He fought 50 battles like that. 50. And he never lost. Not once. Not a single time in his entire life. But here's what's going to break your brain. He's not even number 1 on this list. One general crossed a desert so deadly that every army before him died trying. He came out the other side like a ghost, and before the enemy even knew he existed, their empire was already burning. Another one was so terrifying that for centuries, mothers across an entire civilization whispered his name in the dark to silence their crying children. And the man at number 1, he was so dangerous that the entire continent of Europe, every king, every army, every nation, united together just to stop him. And they still couldn't. By the end of this video, you won't just know their names, you'll understand what makes a man immortal. We're counting down from number 10 to the single greatest general who ever lived. And I promise you, the number 1 spot is going to start a war in your comments. This is Gods and Gladiators. And today, even the gods kneel. Number 10. Belisarius, the last of the Romans, 050 to 415. How would you reclaim half of a fallen empire if your own emperor didn't trust you, didn't fund you, and secretly wanted you to fail? What if every victory you won made the most powerful man in the world hate you even more? Most men would quit. Most men would rebel. Belisarius didn't need a bigger army. He needed a bigger brain. And his brain was the most dangerous weapon in the 6th century. By the mid-6th century, the Western Roman Empire was dead. Not dying. Dead. The greatest civilization in human history had been carved up like a carcass by barbarian kingdoms. Vandals in Africa, Goths in Italy. The Roman name was a ghost story. But Emperor Justinian had a dream of restoring Rome's glory. A beautiful dream. But beautiful dreams don't win wars. Gold does. And Justinian had empty coffers and a mind so paranoid he saw traitors in his own shadow. So he sent Belisarius on suicide missions with tiny, almost laughable armies. No reinforcements, no backup plan. And Belisarius said yes, every single time. His core strategy was something most generals never understand. Intelligence over numbers. Where others saw a lack of troops, he saw freedom. Freedom to move fast, strike hard, and disappear before the enemy could react. Where others begged for more soldiers, Belisarius saw opportunities for deception and psychological warfare so advanced it wouldn't be seen again for 1,000 years. He landed in North Africa with barely 15,000 men to face the Vandal kingdom, a kingdom that had terrorized the Mediterranean for decades, that had sacked Rome itself. Belisarius did it in months. He didn't just defeat the Vandals, he erased them from history. He reclaimed Carthage in record time. And when he marched the Vandal king in chains through Constantinople, the crowd didn't cheer for Justinian, they chanted Belisarius, and that was the beginning of the end for their relationship. But North Africa was the warm-up. His greatest challenge was Italy. Picture this, Belisarius defending Rome for an entire year against a Gothic army that outnumbered him 10 to 1. His men were starving, disease was spreading, soldiers were eating their horses, any other general would have surrendered. But Belisarius invented new siege engines on the spot. He blocked enemy supply lines with surgical precision. He launched night raids so terrifying that Gothic soldiers refused to sleep near the walls. The Goths had the army, he had the mind. The mind won. And then there's the Battle of Dara. This is pure genius. Facing a massive Persian force and knowing his cavalry was outmatched, Belisarius didn't panic. He picked up a shovel. He ordered his men to dig a complex T-shaped trench system right in front of the Persian advance. When the Persian cavalry charged with all their fury, they funneled straight into a killing zone. Horses tripped, formations collapsed, and as the Persians became tangled and disorganized, Belisarius launched a devastating flanking counterattack from both sides. A shovel was as deadly as a sword that day. And the mighty Persian Empire learned a lesson they would never forget. But here's what breaks my heart. Belisarius never sought the throne, even when his own soldiers begged him to take it. Even when Italy offered him a crown, he said no. He stayed loyal to an emperor who repaid that loyalty with jealousy and contempt. Justinian stripped him of command, accused him of treason, and some historians say Belisarius was blinded in his final years. that the man who saved Rome ended up begging on the streets of Constantinople, a blind old man with a cup in his hand, the greatest general of his age, forgotten and betrayed by the empire he bled for. If that doesn't make you feel something, I don't know what will. For his genius of winning impossible battles with nothing, for a loyalty so pure it was almost a curse, Belisarius opens our top 10. But if you think winning with 15,000 men is impressive, wait. The man at number 9 didn't even need an army. He saved an entire civilization with nothing but a lie, a gamble, and a fleet of wooden ships. Number 9. Themistocles, the savior of Greece. 4:15 to 7:15. One mistake. One single miscalculation. And everything we call Western civilization, democracy, philosophy, science, the very idea that a human being has the right to think freely, all of it dies in its cradle. That's how thin the line was. And one man held it, not with a sword, with his mind. Themistocles was not a king born to a golden throne. He wasn't a warrior raised on battlefields. He was a politician, a schemer, a man who could read a room better than anyone alive and understood a terrifying truth, that sometimes, to save everything you love, you have to become the most cunning, most ruthless, most manipulative person in the room. And he was willing to do exactly that. In the early 5th century BC, the massive Persian Empire under King Xerxes moved to crush the Greek city-states once and for all. We're talking about the largest invasion force the ancient world had ever seen. Some historians estimate over 1 million men, an army so vast that when it marched, the ground shook. When it drank from rivers, the rivers went dry. While other Greek leaders looked to walls and soldiers for defense, Themistocles looked at the sea. He saw a truth no one else could see, a truth that everyone called madness. Greece would live or die on the water, not on land, on the water. With masterful political maneuvering, the kind of backroom dealing that would make modern politicians look like amateurs, he convinced the Athenians to take a massive windfall of silver from their mines at Laurium and pour every single coin into building a fleet of triremes, fast, agile warships with bronze rams on their bows, designed to do one thing: punch holes in enemy ships. He wasn't just preparing for a battle. He was building a wooden wall to protect the future of human thought. And nobody understood that except him. But here's where his genius turns dark, and I mean genuinely dark. As the Persian army burned Athens to the ground, as the Acropolis itself was in flames, the Greek alliance was fracturing. Spartans wanted to retreat behind their wall at the Isthmus. Other allies were ready to flee to their islands. The coalition that was Greece's only hope was collapsing in real time. So Themistocles did something insane, something that could have gotten him executed on the spot. He sent a secret message directly to Xerxes, pretending to be a traitor. He told the Persian king that the Greeks were panicking, that their fleet was about to scatter, and that if he attacked now, right now, he'd win everything in a single morning. It was the biggest bluff in military history. A lie so dangerous that if Xerxes had seen through it, Greece was finished. Civilization was finished. And Xerxes, sitting on his golden throne with the arrogance of a man who had never been told no, took the bait. The Battle of Salamis. September 480 BC, the Persian fleet, hundreds of massive warships, sailed into the narrow straits between the island of Salamis and the mainland, and that's exactly where Themistocles wanted them. In those tight, suffocating waters, the Persians' superior numbers became their greatest curse. Their giant ships crashed into each other, tangled like trapped animals, unable to turn, unable to retreat, unable to use their advantage. And the smaller, faster Greek triremes tore into them like wolves into a flock. Bronze rams splintered Persian hulls, oars shattered, men drowned by the thousands. The sea turned to wreckage. From his golden throne, on a nearby hillside, where he had sat down to watch his guaranteed victory, Xerxes watched his empire's navy burn, ship by ship, hour by hour, the most powerful man on earth, powerless. Without Themistocles, there is no golden age of Athens, no Socrates questioning the meaning of existence, no Plato imagining the perfect republic, no Aristotle laying the foundation of science, no foundation for the world you and I live in right now. Every book you've read, every vote you've cast, every free thought you've ever had, it all traces back to this moment, to this man, to this lie. He saved all of it. with a bluff and a fleet of wooden ships, for his vision that bordered on prophecy, and for saving the cradle of Western civilization with nothing but cunning. Themistocles takes the 9th spot. Now, Themistocles defeated an empire with deception. But the man at number 8 did something even harder, something almost no one in history has ever done. He studied the most terrifying military genius alive, learned every single move, deconstructed his playbook piece by piece, and then beat him at his own game, on the biggest stage imaginable. Number 8. Scipio Africanus, the conqueror of Hannibal. What do you do when a genius is destroying your country? When every general your nation sends comes back in a coffin? When the greatest tactician in history is camped on your soil, burning your farms, slaughtering your sons, and no one can stop him? You watch, you learn, and you become something he never expected. Scipio Africanus was a teenager when he survived the Battle of Cannae, the worst military disaster in Roman history. He watched 70,000 Roman soldiers get surrounded and slaughtered in a single afternoon by Hannibal Barca. The ground turned to mud from the blood. Most survivors were broken by that day. They never fought again. But Scipio was not broken. Scipio was forged. That field of death didn't destroy him. It built him. Every scream, every fallen standard, every Roman eagle trampled into the dirt, he memorized it all. Not with grief, with purpose. While other Roman leaders were paralyzed by fear, while the Senate debated surrender, young Scipio was doing something no one else thought to do. He was studying Hannibal, not just his battles, his mind, how he read opponents like open books, how he baited them into traps, how he turned their own aggression into a weapon against them. Scipio understood what every other Roman general had missed. To beat a genius, you don't fight harder, you think deeper. He spent years in Spain, perfecting his craft in silence, drilling his troops in complex maneuvers Rome had never seen, rebuilding the Roman cavalry from scratch into a devastating strike force. He took Hannibal's own playbook, the double envelopment, the cavalry hammer, the feigned retreat, studied every page, and added chapters Hannibal never imagined. But his masterstroke wasn't a battle. It was a decision so bold the Senate called him insane. Scipio knew that as long as Hannibal stayed in Italy, Rome would bleed. So instead of attacking Hannibal directly, he did the unthinkable. He invaded North Africa. He brought the war to Carthage's own doorstep. And just like that, Hannibal, the man who had terrorized Italy for 15 years, was forced to leave Roman soil for the first time and rush home to defend his own city. The hunter had become the hunted. For the first time, the two greatest military minds of the ancient world would meet on equal ground. Pure genius against pure genius. The Battle of Zama, 202 BC, the day the ancient world held its breath. Hannibal unleashed his most terrifying weapon, 80 war elephants, a charging wall of muscle, tusks, and fury that had broken every army it ever faced. But Scipio was ready. Instead of forming a solid wall that elephants would shatter like glass, he arranged his men in columns with hidden lanes between them, invisible corridors of empty space. As the elephants charged, Roman trumpeters blew a deafening blast from every direction. The sound panicked the beasts. Many turned and stampeded back into Hannibal's own lines, crushing his soldiers. The rest ran harmlessly through the empty corridors Scipio had designed, the most terrifying weapon in the ancient world, neutralized by silence and geometry. With the elephants gone, Scipio's rebuilt cavalry swept around both flanks and delivered the killing blow. The same double envelopment Hannibal had used at Cannae, Hannibal's own move, used against him, by a student who had become the master. Hannibal Barca, undefeated for nearly 2 decades, lost. Scipio achieved what no one on earth thought possible. He gave Rome its final victory over its greatest nightmare. He proved that the most powerful weapon against a genius is not strength, not numbers. It's the willingness to learn, and the courage to use your enemy's own brilliance against him. For turning Rome's darkest chapter into its greatest triumph, Scipio Africanus earns the 8th spot. Now, you just met the man who beat Hannibal, but at number 7 you're about to meet someone with a record that makes even Hannibal look mortal. Over 50 battles, 0 losses, not a single one. And he did it all in the name of a god he believed spoke directly to him. Number 7, Khalid ibn al-Walid, the drawn sword of God. 50 major battles, 50, and he never lost, not once. Not even close. Let that sink in. No commander in history can match that record. Khalid ibn al-Walid didn't just win battles, he made defeat a concept that simply didn't apply to him. In the 7th century, the world was ruled by two superpowers, the Byzantine Empire and the Persian Sassanid Empire. They had dominated the known world for centuries. No one expected a force from the Arabian desert to challenge either of them, let alone both. At the same time, Khalid changed everything. His strategy was extreme mobility and psychological terror. He mastered lightning warfare centuries before the word blitzkrieg existed. His cavalry moved with a speed that defied logic, striking where the enemy was weakest, vanishing before they could react, then appearing somewhere else entirely, like a nightmare you can't wake up from. His reputation alone became a weapon. Entire garrisons surrendered, not because they were outmatched, but because they believed defeating Khalid was not something humans could do. Then he did the impossible. To surprise the Byzantines, Khalid needed to appear behind their entire defensive network. The problem? Between him and his target was the Syrian desert, a waterless wasteland no army had ever crossed. Military suicide. So Khalid forced his camels to drink enormous amounts of water before the march, then used them as living water tanks along the way. For 5 days, his army marched through hell on earth. And when they emerged on the other side, the Byzantines couldn't believe what they were seeing. An entire army, from a direction that was supposed to be impossible, a logistical miracle that historians still study today. But his masterpiece was Yarmouk, 636 AD. Facing a Byzantine army that massively outnumbered him, Khalid used the terrain like a chess grandmaster uses the board. Over 6 brutal days, he methodically separated the Byzantine cavalry from their infantry. Once they were isolated, he launched a devastating charge that drove the entire army into a ravine. Total annihilation, the permanent collapse of Byzantine power in the region. A shift in the world that echoes to this day. When Khalid was removed from command and died in his bed, he wept. He said, "There is not a spot on my body without a scar from a sword or a spear. And yet here I am, dying like cattle. May the eyes of cowards never find rest." The greatest warrior of his age, furious that death finally cheated him. For his flawless record, his impossible marches, and his unbreakable will, the drawn sword of God takes the 7th spot. Now, Khalid commanded armies with terrifying speed. But the man at number 6 did something even more extraordinary. He commanded armies he couldn't even see, separated by entire countries, moving in perfect sync, like a conductor leading an orchestra spread across a continent. Number 6. Subutai, the dog of war. Genghis Khan gave the orders, but Subutai was the brain that mapped the world for him. While other generals struggled to control what was in front of their eyes, Subutai directed armies separated by thousands of miles with the precision of a Swiss watch. He conquered 32 nations, won over 60 pitched battles, more than any other general in recorded history. He was the architect of the largest contiguous land empire the world has ever seen, and most people have never even heard his name. Subutai didn't see a battlefield. He saw a continent. His genius wasn't tactical. It was operational, continental scale. He built a messenger relay system that synchronized Mongol columns across thousands of miles. Separate armies, each devastating on its own, would arrive at the exact same moment from completely different directions. The enemy wasn't attacked. They were swallowed. His great cavalry raid is the stuff of legend. What started as a scouting mission became a 5,500-mile journey around the entire Caspian Sea, through lands they'd never seen, across mountains, rivers, and hostile kingdoms, defeating every army in their path, Persians, Russian princes, everyone. This wasn't a raid, it was a message. The Mongols could reach you, anywhere, anytime. But his masterpiece was the Battle of Mohi. The Hungarian army was fortified behind a river, dug in, confident. Subutai's response was surgical. He sent one force to attack the bridge head-on with catapults and smoke screens to fix the enemy's attention. Meanwhile, under the cover of darkness, he personally led a secret river crossing miles downstream. When the sun rose, the Hungarians realized they were completely surrounded. Now here's where Subutai stops being a general and becomes something closer to a psychologist. He deliberately left a gap in his encirclement, a way out, because he knew a trapped army fights to the death. But an army that sees an escape route, they run. And the moment the Hungarians broke formation and poured through that gap, Mongol horse archers were waiting. They hunted them across the open plains for miles. Total annihilation, not because Subutai overpowered them, because he understood human nature better than they understood themselves. For his unparalleled record of conquest, and his ability to wage war on a scale no one else could even imagine, the dog of war takes the 6th spot. Now, we're halfway through. If you're still here, drop a like right now so I know to make more of these. We've seen 6 incredible generals, but who do you think sits at number 1? Write your guess in the comments, because I promise you, the top 5 is where things get truly insane. Number 5. Julius Caesar, the architect of empire. For Caesar, war wasn't won with swords, it was won with shovels. If you think a wall is a defensive structure, you've never met Julius Caesar. This man built 2 walls at the same time, one to trap his enemy inside, another to stop the entire outside world from saving them. And then, sandwiched between 2 armies, he won. Caesar's legions didn't march, they materialized. His armies moved so fast that enemies received the news of his departure and his arrival at the exact same moment. By the time you heard Caesar was coming, he was already standing in front of you. But speed was only half of it. His true weapon, the one no one talks about, combat engineering. Caesar's soldiers weren't just killers, they were architects of destruction. He once built an entire bridge across the Rhine River in 10 days, not because he needed to cross, because he wanted the Germanic tribes on the other side to understand one thing: no river, no mountain, no border on this earth could keep Rome out. Then he crossed, made his point, and burned the bridge behind him. In Gaul, Caesar finally met someone who refused to break: Vercingetorix, the one man who united every tribe in Gaul against Rome. Caesar was outnumbered, deep in hostile territory. Supply lines stretched to the edge of collapse. But Caesar never played by anyone else's rules. He crossed mountains in winter when no one expected it, built entire fleets from scratch in weeks. His audacity wasn't recklessness, it was calculated insanity backed by logistical perfection. And then came Alesia, the siege that shouldn't be possible. Caesar trapped Vercingetorix inside the hilltop fortress of Alesia. Problem solved? No. Because a Gallic relief army, over 250,000 warriors, was marching to crush the Romans from behind. Any other general retreats? Caesar told his men to pick up their shovels. He built an 11-mile wall of fortifications completely encircling Alesia. Circumvallation, starve them out. But he wasn't done. He then built a second wall, 13 miles long, facing outward, contravallation. A fortress within a fortress. His army was now sandwiched between 2 enemies, protected only by 2 rings of trenches, towers, and sharpened stakes driven into the earth. When the relief army arrived, hell broke loose on both sides, attacks from inside, attacks from outside, simultaneously. The Romans were outnumbered on every front, and Caesar held. He didn't just hold, he won. Vercingetorix walked out of Alesia and laid his weapons at Caesar's feet. Gaul fell, and Rome's dominion over Western Europe was sealed, not by a battle, but by a man who turned dirt and wood into the most devastating weapon the ancient world had ever seen. Caesar proved something eternal. The most dangerous weapon in war isn't a sword. It's a mind that can turn the very earth beneath your feet into a trap you never saw coming. For transforming engineering into an art of annihilation, Julius Caesar takes the 5th spot. Now, Caesar built walls to trap his enemies. But the man at number 4, he didn't need walls. He didn't need fortresses. He didn't need engineering. He just needed you to be angry enough to charge at him, because the moment you did, you were already dead. Number 4. Hannibal Barca, the father of strategy, crossing the Alps with war elephants. That was just the introduction. For 15 years, Hannibal Barca lived inside Rome's borders, uninvited, undefeated, unstoppable. He looked at the most powerful military machine the ancient world had ever built and decided to take it apart, piece by piece, from the inside out. Hannibal is the gold standard. His battles are still taught in every serious military academy on this planet. And his genius was never about brute force. It was about something far more terrifying. He read people. He didn't fight armies. He fought the men leading them. He studied Roman commanders the way a predator studies prey. Which ones were aggressive? Which ones were proud? And then he built a trap designed specifically for their weakness. After crossing the Alps, a march that killed half his army and most of his elephants, he arrived in Italy with no port, no supply line, no reinforcements. Completely alone. And for 15 years, undefeated on Roman soil. Rome was so terrified that for generations, mothers whispered to their children at night, "Hannibal ad portas." Hannibal is at the gates, be quiet, or he'll come. An entire civilization, traumatized by a single name. Then came Cannae, the most perfect battle ever fought. Rome assembled 80,000 men. They outnumbered Hannibal 2-1. This was supposed to end him. It ended them. He placed his weakest troops in the center and let them retreat, slowly, deliberately. The Romans pushed forward, pressing deeper into what they thought was a collapsing line. But it wasn't collapsing, it was bending, like a mouth closing around its prey. Then, at the perfect moment, his elite infantry and cavalry slammed shut from both flanks and the rear. 80,000 men, surrounded, packed so tight they couldn't raise their swords. In a single afternoon, 50,000 fell, more than the first day of Hiroshima, with swords and spears, in hours. Every double envelopment since is a footnote to Cannae. Hannibal lost the war, Scipio saw to that. But here's how his story ends. Cornered as a fugitive by the empire he'd terrorized, he refused to give them the satisfaction. He drank poison. His last words, "Let us relieve the Romans of their anxiety. They have grown too impatient to wait for an old man's death." The greatest tactician who ever lived. Alone, in exile, dying on his own terms. For a legacy that still defines how the world thinks about war, Hannibal takes the 4th spot. We are now in the top 3. Every general from this point forward didn't just win wars. They bent the arc of human history, starting with a man who, by 30, had run out of world to conquer. Number 3. Alexander the Great, the invincible king. Undefeated. Every battle, every enemy, every time. By 30, the known world was too small for him. Alexander didn't command from the back. He was the first man into the enemy's spears. Every single time. His soldiers didn't follow him out of fear. They followed him because they had never seen anything like him, and knew they never would again. He wasn't just a strategist, he was a force of nature in human skin. Where other generals use caution, Alexander used speed and violence. His weapon, the companion cavalry, the most elite unit in the ancient world. And he personally led every charge. He understood something most commanders never grasp. The enemy's center of gravity isn't its army, it's its king. Kill the head, the body dies. So Alexander always aimed for the throat. He took the throne at 20. Within a decade, the Persian Empire, the undisputed superpower of the ancient world, was gone. His campaign was a whirlwind, forced marches through deserts, sieges lasting months, river crossings under arrow fire. His men followed him from Greece to Egypt to Persia to Afghanistan to India, not because they were ordered to, because they believed in him with a devotion that bordered on worship. Then came Gaugamela, where legend becomes something more. Darius III assembled the largest army Alexander had ever faced. Scythed chariots designed to shred infantry, war elephants, cavalry from every corner of the empire. The Persians outnumbered him massively, and Darius had chosen the battlefield himself, flattening the ground to maximize his chariot advantage. Everything was stacked against Alexander. It didn't matter. Alexander feinted right, pulling the Persian cavalry into a chase. Darius sent more troops to exploit what looked like a gap, but the gap was the trap. As the Persian lines stretched and thinned, a void opened in their center. Alexander saw it. In an instant, companion cavalry, wedge formation, straight into the void. Straight at Darius himself. The charge was so fast, so violent, so precise that Darius panicked and ran. The moment the Persian king fled, his empire collapsed. Not in weeks, not in days. In that single moment, one charge, one decision, the greatest empire on earth, finished. Alexander was a comet, brilliant, unstoppable. Gone too soon. He died at 32. On his deathbed, his generals asked, "Who do you leave your empire to?" His answer, "To the strongest." That single sentence tore his empire apart. The man who never lost a battle couldn't protect his legacy from his own words. Everything he built fractured within a generation. He conquered the world, but the world couldn't hold his shape without him. For an unmatched record, superhuman leadership, and a vision that fused civilizations, Alexander takes the 3rd spot. 2 remain, and I need to be honest with you. The The debate between number 2 and number 1 has started wars in comment sections. Historians have argued about this for decades. The man at number 2 built the largest land empire in history from nothing. And the man at number 1? He turned war itself into a science. Number 2. Genghis Khan, the universal ruler. He didn't conquer nations, he rewrote the operating system of civilization. From a starving orphan abandoned on the frozen steppe, to the ruler of the largest contiguous land empire in human history. Genghis Khan turned fear into a precision instrument, and wielded it with a coldness the world had never seen. But here's what most people get wrong. He was not a mindless barbarian. He was arguably the greatest organizational genius in military history. He looked at the old tribal system, where your rank was determined by your father's blood, and burned it to the ground. In its place, a pure meritocracy. Best rider leads the cavalry. Best strategist plans the campaign. Prince or goat herder's son, didn't matter. If you were the best, you rose. This wasn't just revolutionary, this was centuries ahead of Europe. He created the YAM, the world's first intercontinental communication network. Horse relay messengers carrying information across thousands of miles in days. He could coordinate armies in China and Persia simultaneously. He absorbed the technology of every civilization he conquered. Chinese siege engineers, Persian gunpowder, Muslim mathematicians. He didn't destroy knowledge, he weaponized it, turned his enemies' own inventions against them. His rise began with the impossible, unifying the Mongol tribes, dozens of warring clans that had been slaughtering each other for generations. He united them all, not just through force but through the Yasa, a code of law that applied equally to the lowest soldier and his own sons. Then came the Khwarezmian Empire. After his ambassadors were murdered, the Khan responded with a violence the world had never witnessed. He divided his forces into columns that appeared simultaneously at every major city. The choice was simple: surrender and live, resist and cease to exist. Not just the army, the city, the walls, the memory. Cities that surrendered were spared. Cities that fought were erased so completely that others surrendered the moment they saw Mongol banners on the horizon. Terror wasn't rage, it was mathematics. His cavalry was the most disciplined force in history. Lethal accuracy at full gallop, days in the saddle without stopping, sleeping on horseback, eating dried meat and fermented mare's milk. Walls, he forced captured engineers to build siege weapons. A river in the way, he diverted it. No obstacle he couldn't solve, no defense he couldn't crack. Now here's a fact that will reshape how you think about this man. Genghis Khan's conquests were so vast that global carbon emissions measurably dropped. Forests regrew on depopulated farmland. One man's campaign literally changed the Earth's atmosphere. That is a scale of impact no other human being has ever achieved. But he also connected the world. The Silk Road flourished under Mongol protection. East met West. Ideas, technology, and culture flowed across continents for the first time. He destroyed the old world and accidentally built the foundation for the new one. Genghis Khan understood something eternal. An empire isn't built on blood alone. It's built on order, adaptation, and absolute unbreakable will. For a revolutionary vision and a scale of conquest that will likely never be matched, Genghis Khan takes the second spot. And now, number 1. Number 1. Napoleon Bonaparte, the god of war. His enemies calculated that his mere presence on the battlefield was worth 40,000 soldiers. Not his army, not his cannons, him, standing there. They didn't guess that number, they mathematically computed it. No human being in history has ever been assigned a numerical value by the people trying to kill him. That's not a general, that's a god of war. So why is he number 1? Above Alexander, above Genghis Khan, above every legend on this list? Because Alexander inherited the finest army ever built. Genghis Khan forged his over decades Napoleon. He walked into a bankrupt, bleeding post-revolutionary France, and within 5 years turned it into the most terrifying military machine the world had ever seen. From nothing, with nothing, except his mind. He invented the core system, splitting his Grande Armée into self-sufficient miniature armies, each with its own infantry, cavalry, artillery, and command. They marched independently, fought independently, but at one signal they converged on a single point like fingers crushing into a fist. His enemies never knew if they were facing a scouting party or the apocalypse, until it was too late. Every army on Earth today is built on this blueprint. Napoleon didn't just win wars, he wrote the operating system of modern warfare. His brain was a weapon more dangerous than any cannon. He calculated artillery trajectories, troop fatigue, supply chains, and terrain. simultaneously, while bullets flew past his head. His method was brutal in its simplicity: find the weakest point, hit it with everything, end the war before lunch. He fought over 60 major battles, more than Alexander, Hannibal, and Caesar combined. He slept 4 hours a night. And the entire continent of Europe united against him. Not once, 7 times, 7 coalitions, every major power on earth fighting one man. For 15 years, they still couldn't win. December 2nd, 1805. Austerlitz. Historians don't call it a battle, they call it perfection. He faced a larger Russian-Austrian army holding the high ground. Every textbook screamed retreat. Napoleon read the textbook, then burned it. He deliberately made his right flank look weak, fragile, dying. The Allies saw it and attacked, pulling their troops off the Pratzen Heights to deliver the killing blow. They thought they were winning. They were walking into the most elegant trap ever designed. The moment the heights emptied, Napoleon's hidden reserve stormed straight up the center and split the Allied army in half. Command, gone. Communication, gone. Thousands of soldiers drowned in frozen ponds when French artillery shattered the ice beneath their feet. One morning, the Holy Roman Empire, 1,000 years old, ceased to exist weeks later. Yes, Waterloo happened. Every empire falls. But you can exile the man. You cannot kill the ideas. The Napoleonic Code became the legal backbone of half the civilized world. His core system became the DNA of every modern army. His principle that rank comes from ability, not blood, became the philosophy of modern civilization itself. Every general after him studied him. Every army alive today carries his fingerprints. Napoleon Bonaparte, a nobody from Corsica, no money, no connections, no royal blood. And through pure savage intellect, he conquered a continent, rewrote the laws of nations, and redefined what war means. Alexander conquered with his father's army. Genghis Khan conquered with time. Napoleon conquered with his brain, alone against the world, and the world still runs on his systems 2 centuries later, the greatest general in history. Not because he won the most, because he changed everything. Forever. You just watched 10 men reshape the world with nothing but willpower, strategy, and an absolute refusal to lose. 10 generals, exposed to famine, betrayal, impossible odds, and the full weight of empires trying to crush them. And every single one of them looked at the impossible and said, "Watch me." Themistocles saved Western civilization with 300 wooden ships. Belisarius reconquered an empire with an army smaller than a modern football stadium. Scipio studied the man who destroyed his country, then beat him at his own game. Khalid never lost, not once. In over 100 battles, Subutai conquered more land than any human who ever lived, and most of you had never heard his name before today. Caesar crossed a river and ended a republic. Hannibal crossed mountains with elephants and haunted Rome for a generation. Genghis Khan built the largest empire in human history from nothing but horses and fury. Alexander conquered the known world before his 30th birthday, and Napoleon made the entire planet rewrite its laws, its armies, and its definition of genius. These 10 men didn't just fight wars. They wrote the operating system of the world you live in right now. The borders on your map, the laws in your courts, the tactics your armies still use. The very concept that one mind, one single stubborn, brilliant mind, can change everything. So here's my question to you. If you had to remove one name from this list, just one, and replace them with someone we missed, who would it be? Drop it in the comments. Because I already know, that comment section is about to become a battlefield of its own. And if this video made you feel something, if it made you think, argue, or see history differently, then you already know what to do. Subscribe, hit the bell, because this is Gods and Gladiators, and we're just getting started. Next video, we're covering something even more dangerous than generals. We're covering the 10 greatest empires that ever existed, and why every single one of them collapsed. You don't want to miss that. I'll see you there.